Student athletes from 64 different high schools across the Chicago area came together this past weekend for National Teen Suicide Awareness Month. They created PSAs to bring awareness to suicide statistics.
16% of teens in the U.S. consider suicide every year.
4 out of 5 teens who attempt suicide give clear signs.
We need to make it okay to talk about subjects.
Let's start a conversation today.
As part of their awareness campaign, they are collecting sweatshirts to represent the total number of teens who attempt suicide every day. Right now, there are about 3,100. Those sweatshirts will then be delivered as a surprise to a homeless shelter in Chicago.
This morning, Chicago area students are trying to spread awareness about teen suicide. According to the CDC, there is an average of 3,100 suicide attempts by teenagers every day in the United States. And for every 200 attempts, one teenager will die. Student athletes made a PSA and posted this on social media to spread the word.
There should be no fear in talking about teen suicide.
We need to make it okay to talk about tough subjects.
Let's start a conversation today.
And you'll be seeing these because this month is National Teen Suicide Awareness Month.
Back here on Sports Speed, it's that time of year again. The PepsiCo Showdown, the largest high school boys and girls soccer tournament in the country, kicks off the boys bracket Saturday at the Inwood Soccer Complex in Joliet. 64 schools, more than 2,000 participants. Joe Trost, founder and managing director of the PepsiCo Showdown, in studio with us to unveil the seeds for the boys tournament. I know we got a lot of watch parties throughout the area, so hello and welcome as always to you, Joe. Before we get into the seeds, though, I know there are some changes to the venues this year for both the boys and the girls in April. Let us in on what's the happening and the new changes for the venues.
So as the tournament has expanded, we've had to move to a site that has more fields, and this year we're going to be out at the Inwood Soccer Complex, which is right off I-55 out in Joliet. 6 fields going at the same time, all grass. Coaches have been out there, raved about it, so obviously looking forward to this weekend.
You gotta love that, man. It's getting so much bigger. We got some youngsters that are here in the studio right now. Some guys that about to get ready to go a little bit.
Real quick, Joe, who's represented with what schools we got here?
So we got Whitney Young out of the city, St. Patrick, and Fenwick out of Oak Park.
And do you actually get the leader of Pepsi if you win?
You're definitely going to get more than that and a little spray.
Well, listen, I'll tell you what, I held that trophy. It is big. So let's get into the brackets. First one is the U.S. Army bracket. Joe, you got to tell us who's in that bracket.
The number 1 seed of the overall tournament is Morton. Over the past 2 years, they've been undefeated in 50 of their 53 games. Tons of talent, but ironically, in the past 2 years of Pepsi, they've suffered home losses. So of the 3 losses they've had in the past 2 years, 2 of them have come in Pepsi. Tons of skill. The program's huge, 135 kids, so there's a ton of talent throughout there. Number 1 seed. 2, Solario. 3, Wheaton Academy. 4 with Lions. Keep an eye on Skip Locke. 5, Matea. 6, Crystal Lake South. Ryan Allen has a bit of nervous excitement there. A lot of talent. St. Pat's. St. Pat's is a team to keep an eye on. 2014 had 2 wins. They doubled it in 15-16 last year. Had 23 wins, finished 4th in 2A. Moving down the bracket, Addison Trail at 9, St. Ignatius at 11, 13, Washington, the city champs. They're going to face Lions in the first round. Lane out of the city. And then Hoffman Estates, interesting team, played a tough schedule early on, beat Barrington. And it'll be interesting to see how they do against Solario. 2 totally different styles. You've got the suburbs and the city. Solario won 2A last year, so great opportunity.
Yeah, I got to cover them last year. Pretty stacked bracket, and out of the U.S. Navy bracket.
So U.S. Navy, Oswego is the number 1 seed out of there. Woodstock, keep an eye on them. They have at the number 2 seed 9 returning starters. It's made it to the sectional semis last year, looking to go farther. SOTO, a Class A team, but Matt Ribbons, whose dad's a longtime college coach and now athletic director, a lot of talent there. Young, Lincoln Way East. Huntley off to a tough start, but they played a tough schedule early on. Moving down the bracket, Wheaton South, it's always strong, but off to a slow start. And obviously, Jared's team right there, St. Viator.
14, JP.
A little bit of a struggle here, but keep an eye on Will Hartman, and then Kelly and Fenwick at 9-10. So there's definitely some balance throughout this bracket. Rockford East is a new team in the PepsiCo Showdown this year, so some cool opportunities.
Well, I'll have you maybe duke it out in the break with Joe about why the low ranking.
Okay.
Let's take a quick time out. We got 2 more brackets seeds unveiled for the PepsiCo Showdown. That's on the other side of this timeout. Stay with us.
More ahead this Thursday. Up next, it's a difficult topic, but an important one to talk about with your teen. We're going to hear how some local athletes are helping spread awareness about teen suicide and how to prevent it.
Did you know 4 out of 5 teens who attempt suicide give clear signs?
There should be no fear in talking about suicide. Let's start a conversation today.
Did you know 60...
A series of PSAs helps to break the stigma around a very tough subject. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for teenagers. September is National Teen Suicide Prevention Month, and hundreds of local student athletes are taking part in a special awareness campaign.
The campaign is sponsored by Buddies Helpers and PepsiCo Showdown, and joining us now, Joe Trost. He's the director of Buddies Helpers, along with students Philip Denny and Rodney Bejabang. Did I pronounce that right, Rodney?
Yeah.
Nice. Both of them are seniors at Whitney. Thanks all of you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
So, Joe, how did Buddies Helpers come about?
So Buddies Helpers is an organization that engages and educates student athletes around making a difference on and off the field. So in partnership with the PepsiCo Showdown, which is the largest high school soccer tournament in the country, we have a great opportunity to really, hit public and private schools, city and suburban students, and really engage them around different society issues. And it's a great opportunity to allow them to get involved with things and learn about things, and hopefully, take the learnings, throughout life and make a difference.
What are the numbers on suicide, and is it going up because of social media and that additional pressure to being a teenager?
Yeah. So I'll let Philip and Rodney talk about that, but the numbers are kind of scary when you think about it. 3,100 teens throughout the U.S. attempt suicide each day. In 2017, there were 4,600 teens that actually committed suicide. 160,000 self-inflicted suicide wounds treated by hospitals. The interesting thing here is, out of those 4,600 who committed suicide last year, 80% were male.
Wow.
So, obviously with the upcoming tournament here, the boys soccer tournament, it was a great opportunity to engage male athletes really around this subject to
do
see
these
what's going on.
PSAs.
Exactly.
So, Philip and Rodney, let me ask you this. Why did you want to get involved with this when they asked you?
We just really wanted to help people know about suicide, and just that it's a really big problem nowadays, and just that people need to check on their teenagers, and just, there's a lot of things going on, making sure that they're aware of what's going on in their teenagers' lives.
Rodney, do you feel a lot of pressure? Is there a lot of pressure on teenage boys these days?
Yeah, I would say so. Like Joe said, the pressures of social media, the demand for how we should be athletically and in school, all of these things are a factor to our high suicide rates.
Kids are expected to do so much more. We were talking about when we were in high school. It's like, you just kind of did a sport when the season rolled around, but now you're expected to be a great student, put great pictures on social media, be the best athlete. It's a lot more than we ever had to deal with, right?
It's something. It's a consistent pressure, and what we were talking about, before coming on, is that you're continually in the spotlight, as you pointed out, and especially again with the pressures of social media. And it's a different day and age now.
Were there any warning signs? You talk about that 4 out of 5 people show warning signs. Were there any that kind of surprised you?
No, I think the biggest thing is about starting a conversation. There is a stigma around it, and how do you get young people to talk about things? Obviously there's certain things that they're hiding from their parents or teachers or coaches. I've talked about this with school administrators. How are they exactly IDing it? And it starts with a conversation.
Well, why do you think it's more effective for boys than girls, where we kind of joke about that boys kind of have it out, right? And the girls, it's all this emotional stuff. Why does it affect boys more than girls?
That is something I think that everybody's trying to figure out, and that's something that I would kind of throw to Philip and Rodney here.
Any ideas, guys?
I don't have any ideas. I think that boys may seem more out in the open, but guys have feelings too. Maybe they keep it at home.
Yeah, they internalize it too much. They're afraid to share their feelings, maybe, huh?
Yeah, because I feel like if they show their feelings, they'll be portrayed as vulnerable or soft or mentally unstable. But we're all humans as well.
Well, you guys have a big event coming up. It's this Saturday. Philip and Rodney, you want to talk about that? You're collecting sweatshirts?
Yes, we are. We're collecting sweatshirts. All 64 teams participating in the tournament. We're all collecting sweatshirts, just to represent each person that was affected by suicide last year, or tries to commit suicide each day. So 3,100, try to collect 3,100 sweatshirts for Saturday.
So we're going to take those 3,100 3,100 sweatshirts, bring awareness, because when you see the sweatshirts together, you realize that it's a single person, and, take those and, make a surprise delivery to a Chicago homeless shelter. So you've got the awareness, but then we've got impact helping people.
Wow. Well, thank you guys for being here. It's nice to meet you both.
Thank you.
Good luck to you, and Joe, thanks for being here too. Buddy's Helpers and PepsiCo Showdown are holding that donation event this Saturday. It's at the Inwood Sports Complex in Joliet. That's where they'll be collecting sweatshirts to donate to homeless youth. If you want to stop by, there's the information on your screen. Thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
It's up now for your weekend break.
Hey, let's check in with Andrea Darla. She's down in Joliet.
A very special weekend break this morning. We are at an event at the Inwood Sports Complex here in Joliet trying to raise awareness for Teen Suicide Awareness Prevention Month. That's what it is right now. And Joe Trost is one of the organizers here. He's with Buddy's Helpers. This is an amazing event. You are drawing together students from all over the county and the state, basically.
Yeah, there's 64 different high schools out here from the city and suburbs, public and private schools. It's a great opportunity where they're going to compete here on the field through the PepsiCo Showdown. It's the largest high school soccer tournament in the country, but off the field, the biggest thing today is they're going to make a difference in the lives of others. They're bringing awareness to teen suicide. Obviously, September is Teen Suicide Awareness Month. They're going to be collecting 3,100 sweatshirts, which represents the total number of teens in the U.S.
And tell me about the significance, too, that we're looking at now of all of the students here, their pictures that we're seeing all along the field, Joe.
So these are life-size player posters. Robin Alam, who's been shooting for the event for years, really just puts the kids in a huge spotlight. Just like when you go into the United Center or Wrigley Field and you see the life-size posters of Anthony Rizzo or any of the Chicago Bulls, same thing here. These are, it's very cool to see the kids get off the bus where they come out and they see this life-size image of them, and just, it's a great opportunity to put a spotlight on it.
Oh, it absolutely is. And you talked a little bit before about the sweatshirts. That's a key part of today, too. 3,100 sweatshirts, probably more, because you have two large trucks here being donated. Where will they go? And tell us the significance of the donated sweatshirts.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, 3,100 sweatshirts we're collecting represents the total number of teens in the U.S. that attempt suicide each and every single day, which is,
That's a startling number.
Exactly. So, and sometimes when you just hear numbers, you really can't put everything together, but when you see 3,100 sweatshirts, represents a single person for each one. So, bringing awareness from that standpoint, schools have been collecting the sweatshirts, throughout the week. At the end here, there's going to be a surprise donation to a West Side homeless shelter. So again, you've got the awareness, but then we've got a cool impact on the back end where we're helping enhance the lives of those in need.
And tell us briefly, too, about Buddy's Helpers. You do such a wonderful job with this organization. I know you had the shoes being donated around 9/11 for the people who needed shoes and the homeless and whatnot. So it's such a great event. And today is sweatshirts.
Yeah. So Buddy's Helpers, basically engages and educates student athletes about making a difference on and off the field. As I mentioned earlier, it's just like the Cubs. It's with the Cubs and Cubs charities. Professional athletes, college athletes. We want to engage the kids, around different society issues where they can help make a difference in the lives of others, and it's a great opportunity.
And it's a great event too because it's a little colder on today, and they're all showing up. They're all starting to pull in now too to bring their sweatshirts. So Joe, thank you. Okay, very good. And we'll send it back to you guys in the studio. Again, it's an event today here at the Inwood Sports Complex in Joliet to raise awareness for teen suicide awareness. I'm Andrea Darlos for Weekend Break. We'll send it back to you guys in the studio.
Message about suicide, how local teens are raising awareness and helping those in need. The month of September is National Teen Suicide Awareness Month, and Chicagoland high school student athletes came together to raise awareness. The nonprofit Buddy's Helpers hope to collect 3,100 sweatshirts to represent the total number of daily teen suicide attempts in the U.S. They actually ended up collecting more than 5,600 sweatshirts, which were donated to Chicago area homeless shelters.
We are Chicago proud of student athletes from 64 area high schools who came together to collect 3,100 sweatshirts. That number represents the total number of daily teen suicide attempts in the U.S. The goal was to drive awareness and create conversations. They ended up collecting more than 5,600 sweatshirts, which they boxed up and delivered in a surprise donation to a local homeless shelter. Such great kids.
We have student athletes from 64 different Chicago area high schools, cities and suburbs, public and private students here today competing on the field, but off the field, they're teammates in the game of life. They're bringing attention to
athletes across our area are giving back to those in need today while shining a light on teen suicide. This is a live interview you need to see. It's coming up next on Good Day Sunday. teenagers are making a difference on and off the field today. Student athletes from 64 different high schools throughout our area are shining a light on teen suicide while helping the homeless. This is National Teen Suicide Awareness Month. According to the CDC, there's an average of 3,100 teens who attempt suicide every single day. So, teens in our area, they're working to call attention to this. To learn more about this, let's go to Joe Trost, the Managing Director of Buddy's Helpers. He helped organize this campaign. Joe, good morning. Thanks for being with us today.
How you guys doing?
We are doing all right. You're doing some good work out there, Joe. Tell us what these teens are doing to bring awareness to this issue. You're collecting sweatshirts.
Correct. So we're out here on behalf of the Making a Difference on and off the field campaign presented by Buddy's Helpers and the PepsiCo Showdown. PepsiCo Showdown is the largest high school soccer tournament in the country. So using the power of sport, we're engaging and educating student athletes around important society subjects. In September, it's National Teen Suicide Awareness Month. So we're bringing attention, obviously, to the statistics that you just referred to. There's 3,100 teens in the U.S. that attempt suicide each and every single day. In 2017, there were 4,600 teens that committed suicide, 160,000 teens that had teen or suicide inflicted wounds treated by hospitals. You know, the unique thing here is that the statistics out of the 4,600 that committed suicide last year, 80% were male. So obviously with the boys soccer tournament here, we wanted to bring awareness around it, and you know, we've got a pretty cool surprise that's going to happen later on today at a West Side homeless shelter.
Before we talk about that, those numbers you just said, they're staggering to me. What did these students think when they heard that?
Oh, they're surprised, and it's interesting when talking with the male student athletes, saying, you know, why do you think the male suicide rate is so high? And some of them have brought up the standpoint that, you know, from a male standpoint, you know, sometimes males hold their feelings and don't talk about it, and really, these student athletes, they created public service announcements to create a conversation, to, you know, be able to talk about things, to really get to eliminate the stigma around the topic and to bring attention to something that's obviously an important society subject.
It very much is. Now, they started to collect 3,100 sweatshirts to show that number of attempts, but show us, you obviously collected a lot more than that.
We did. So the idea was to collect sweatshirts to really put an idea around each one of, around the 3,100. Sometimes when you hear the number, it doesn't really connect. But when you see 3,100 sweatshirts, it really puts an idea that it represents 3,100 different people. And, you know, when you realize the number of teens being impacted here, you know, it's great what the student athletes did off the field. Now today, we're going to bring this entire semi to a West Side homeless shelter and help enhance the lives of those in need. With fall starting later this week, while it might be 88 degrees today in Chicago later on this month, you know, obviously the temperature is going to go down, and we're going to be able to help, you know, thousands of people, you know, get sweatshirts that need them on, you know, Chicago streets.
That is important work. So tell me real quick, Joe, if other people at home want to learn more about this, where can they go?
Well, obviously they can go to PepsiCoShowdown.com, you know, and click on the Buddy's Helpers link there, and to learn more about all the great projects that the student athletes are doing. This is something that it's a campaign that goes on, you know, each and every single month around different topics, and obviously we'd love to have any additional support, and it should be a great opportunity for these student athletes to really continue the great work that they've done all month later on today.
All right, Joe Trost from Buddy's Helpers, thanks for telling us all about this morning.
Thanks, guys.
Today, student athletes from 64 high schools across Chicago will deliver more than 5,600 sweatshirts to homeless shelters in need. The surprise donation is part of September's National Teen Suicide Awareness Month. The goal was to collect 3,100 sweatshirts, the number of teens who try to kill themselves every single day.
Thousands of sweatshirts being donated to a Chicago homeless shelter, but there's an important statistic that these soccer players want you to know about. We'll have that story coming up.
Yeah! Thousands of people will have new sweatshirts to help keep warm this winter, thanks to some inspiring young athletes.
WGN's Sean Lewis spoke to the young men about their mission.
On Chicago's west side, a warm mission arrived by semi-truck. More than a dozen student athletes from around the Chicago area, part of the Buddy's Helpers program, unloaded thousands of donated items to the shelter on West Harrison.
We're bringing in boxes right now full of sweatshirts and jackets.
64 high schools in all helped to collect more than 5,600 sweatshirts and jackets. That was more than their original goal of 3,100. That number, 3,100, it means a lot to these young athletes.
To bring awareness to the 3,100 kids that attempted suicide.
3,100 attempted suicides per day by teenagers in the U.S.
Bringing a lot of awareness to teen suicide in America, and it doesn't get talked about a lot.
These sweatshirts give a tangible reminder of that number and a sense of purpose, helping those struggling through the upcoming cold months in Chicago.
It's just a great opportunity for us to, give something back to the community as players from the Chicagoland area.
Exactly. It's a privilege, like the PepsiCo Showdown, they collected all the sweaters so we could give back to where, we came up where we grew up, and like other people don't have the same opportunity that we do, so.
In Lawndale, Sean Lewis.
To give back is always a great feeling.
WGN News.
And the students are trying to help shed light on suicide statistics and break the stigma around that tough subject.
2,000 athletes from Chicago and the suburbs are taking part in this initiative.
Now to making a difference in Chicago area student athletes, making a difference off the field. The athletes delivered 5,600 sweatshirts yesterday to Franciscan Outreach Homeless Shelter. Students from 64 high schools throughout our area donated the shirts. The campaign is presented by Buddy's Helpers and the PepsiCo Showdown.
Here in just a bit. First, I want to show you this, the thousands of high school athletes that are making Chicago proud. They're working to help needy families ahead of winter. They collected more than 5,600 sweatshirts, then delivered those sweatshirts to the Franciscan Outreach Homeless Shelter of Chicago's West Side yesterday.
Very cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Always like to see our young people getting involved in service.
Yeah.
Thousands of people will have new sweatshirts to help keep them warm this winter thanks to some inspiring young athletes. WGN Sean Lewis spoke to the young men about them.